savewithconrad.com.
My name is Catherine West from Visalia, California. And for many years, my husband has listened to the podcasts. And so every time I am stressed about anything, he has said, well, we need to call Save with Conrad. We ended up in a situation where we thought this would be helpful for us. So we were struggling with some credit card debt that we had. We knew that we had some equity in our house that we could possibly access to get some cash out and refinance, consolidate some of those things. And so we were able to do that with this latest refinance that we did. It saves us so much on interest and really helps us out financially. Plus, we have a little left over to be able to do a few things around the house that we wanted to. And the money that we were paying into those things, we can hopefully start saving now. In that alone, we'll save $1,400 a month. And it didn't change our house payment, maybe even like $50 less. I feel like we're far away in terms of like the United States, but I don't feel that far away from you guys. I always feel like you're a phone call away, you're an email away, and always like available to me. Diane Raver is who we worked with. And every time I needed her, I was able to reach out and contact her, and she was always getting right back to me. I felt heard. I called with real concerns, and I really just needed some help and to figure out how to make this work. I never felt like I was getting this because you just wanted business. Like I felt like you genuinely care about what I need, and you heard what I needed, and then you found a way to make that happen. And so I recommend you guys wholeheartedly. I feel like you'll be honest and helpful. And feeling heard is just what every person wants to have done when it's in a situation like this. My name is Catherine West, and I saved over $1,400 a month with savewithconrad.com.
NMLS number 2129, equal housing lender. savewithconrad.com. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to What Happened When? With the voice of your childhood, Tony Schiavone. Tony, what's going on, man? How are you?
Happy New Year, Conrad. Is this the first time you and I have talked since the new year? I believe so, isn't it?
No, that can't be right.
We have like two back-to-back best. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. By the way, I don't know if you saw, but you got suspended over a tweet, according to the internet wrestling community.
Yeah.
That's got to be what it is. It can't just be that we said for weeks here that Lois was getting a new hip last week. That can't be it, Tony.
Couldn't have been it. No. As a matter of fact, she got out of the hospital on Wednesday, and so I just let her walk home from the hospital instead of picking her up, and I went to TV and got suspended. So, but she made it home about 6 hours later with her walker on 285 in Atlanta.
And now you're sitting at home suspended with pay. It's a great day.
It's a great day.
I mean, how does all of this just get? I mean, when I started getting text messages about that last week, I was like, really?
Yeah.
You serious, bud? Like,
yeah.
No.
For defending Tony Khan. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, listen, if you don't know what we're talking about Lois getting a new hip. She's full Roddy Piper Jones. How's the recovery going?
She's actually moving quite well now.
That's great,
but it's slow. It really is.
What's the what's the normal turn time or what have you for something like this? Like the expected recovery would be how long?
I don't know. They do not do rehab, physical therapy for a hip. They just tell you to walk. So the recovery time, I guess, is based on how much you get out and you move. And she's been, hasn't really getting out, but she's been moving. She's been going up the steps. She's been going down the steps to the bedroom. She's been putting herself into the bed, and you got to swing the hips, to get in. And so I don't know what the recovery time is, but as far as pain management is concerned, I'm thinking that the pain has been subsiding, and she's been able to cut down on the meds. So I would think maybe in the next couple of weeks, she would be much, much better pain-wise. As far as getting around wise, I'm not sure. So we'll see. She had some screws put. Do you remember last year sometime where she fell?
Yes.
And broke her hip, and they repaired it and they put screws in.
Yes.
Her hip. So they had to take the screws out to put the new hip in. So it took a little bit longer. So that's why instead of getting out the same day that she normally would get out, normally you have a hip replacement, you get out the same day that night. She had to stay Tuesday and then Wednesday because of pain management. And so she got back home Wednesday. And so she's been getting around slowly, but I think she's improving. I really do.
Well, we're glad to hear it. We're pulling for, we all, of course, know that Lois rules, and we appreciate you guys being a part of our live studio audience. If you haven't already, go check us out on Patreon. It's patreon.com/WHW Monday, or, of course, adfreeshows.com. That's where you get to not only get all of our bonus content each and every month, as well as a whole bunch of other bonus content, but you get to be a part of our live studio audience. And we're live here tonight, just moments after the second Raw on Netflix. And I know you couldn't wait to not watch that, Tony.
I couldn't tell you how excited I was watching that. Really could.
Oh, I know you were thrilled to not watch it, and we hope that you actually at home did check it out. But what Tony and I are going to be checking out today is a New Year's Day show from 1994. We're talking WCW Saturday Night from January 1st, 1994.
Wow.
Tony, I'm locked and loaded on my side. You ready on your side?
Yeah, before we do, though, let's bring me up again, Dave, if you will, and let's take a look right here.
Oh my gosh. Is that the new recruit? Is that the new walk-on?
That's the new dog. That's Dobby.
You got to tell us about your new dog.
My new dog is from Motley Zoo in Seattle, Washington. He was part of there he is. He was part of a litter that was found in a box in Los Angeles and had no mother, just found. They just threw away this litter of puppies. And so the people at Motley Zoo, who are the great people, and shout out to Patty and Jamie, who, by the way, they have their own podcast. It's called Rescue Shit. Isn't that great? So they nurse these babies back by bottle. And now here's Dobby, who is 5, almost 6 months old. And he's got 3 beagles on their toes. He plays with all of them and is a vicious player. Right now, he's worn out because he's been playing all day. So there he is. My wife said, you know what? You're not going to be able to replace Bug. I said, of course I'm not. I know that. But now I got a little buddy again. We don't know what he is. We put his DNA sample in. We don't know what he is yet, but it's got to be a Chihuahua. And I think it might be a Chihuahua and a Dachshund, which would be a Chiweenie. So we'll see what it is. So he's number 5. We got 5 dogs in the house now.
Wow. 5 dogs and 1 hip. Here we go. What a great name for a little web series. We should do that.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited. You got all this new changes, new dog, new hip, new you.
Yeah.
You got any New Year's resolutions you want to share with us? Actually, we can talk about that while we watch some Saturday Night. Hey, that's what this show's all about, watching wrestling with your friends, and we want you to watch along with us.
Yeah.
Can't believe this is a real thing, but we're watching New Year's Day 1994. Tony, when this came out, I was 12 years old.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 12 years old. I turned 13 that June.
Uh-huh.
I was 12 and a half years old.
Oh, wow.
This ought to be pretty fun today.
Yeah, this is pre-Hulk Hogan. This is the year that Hulk Hogan would arrive in that summer. And so we're still pre-Hulk Hogan. And I guess Nitro and all the stuff is in the future. So we're at the end of Bill Watts, right? And now
right.
Ole and Eric and everybody else running the company.
Handful of months before Hulk Hogan is here. So this is one of the last quarters where we would enjoy a Hulk Hogan free WCW. So let's take a look and see what was going on January 1st, 1994 on WCW Saturday Night. And Tony, I know you've got a special countdown for us. You usually do, but I want to give you guys a special countdown to get that ding dong real hard. Have better sex with Blue Chew. Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets And these erection enhancing tablets help men achieve stronger, harder, and longer lasting erections for sexual activities. Blue Chew is putting its money where its mouth is, and they're offering you a month free. And the process is simple. You sign up at bluechew.com. You consult with one of their licensed medical providers. And once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA. They're prepared and shipped directly to your door, and you can take them anytime, day or night. So plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. Check it out, man. The best part, it's all done online. That means no awkward conversations, no trips to the doctor's office, no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Make life easier by getting harder and discover your options at bluechew.com. Listen, Blue Chew just makes life a little more fun. We know what you like to do. We don't have to talk about it, but I can tell you how you can make it just a little better. We've got a special deal for our listeners. Try your first month of Blue Chew free. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast. Tony, this runtime today looks like it's about an hour, 27 minutes, and 20 seconds. I'm locked and loaded on my side. You ready to roll?
Ready to go. Bad Money Slim has joined us, already bitching that we started a little bit early.
Well, here's the deal, boys and girls. We say immediately following Monday Night Raw. And, well, it didn't end in 3 hours. You know, listen, once upon a time, we knew that Raw was going to be a 3-hour show. But last week they went long. This week they went short. And since they're not on television anymore, they don't have to go a full 3 hours.
Right.
I kind of like it. Show me a good show and then let me get out of here.
Exactly.
Yeah. Bad Money Slim says, who's watching Raw? Well, I'll be honest. I was tonight, and I don't normally watch live, but I knew, hey, they might not end right at 10. Let me be ready. So as soon as they finished, I sent a text to Silva and Tony, and they're like, yeah, we're already here. We're waiting on you. So, all right, let's do it. And without further ado, I think we're ready to watch January 1st, 1994. It's the A show. It's WCW Saturday Night, way back before Nitro. Tony, you ready?
Let's go. Let's go with a DJ Turn Up countdown. DJ Turn Up.
You know it's all about
Wow. That's a pretty stiff lariat.
Your mama's a stiff lariat.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
How is Mama Schiavone doing these days?
She's been dead since 1990.
So about the same.
Yes, exactly the same.
That tickle me sometimes.
Last week we had great friend of the show, Casio Kid, go ahead and give us the countdown to 3. And he did it in Espanol. Casio is back with us again this week. Is there a fun way you'd like to see him count down to 3 this week, Tony?
Yeah, in Arabic. Can you do an Arabic?
Arabic.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so what, we on 1, 2, 3 in Arabic? All right, here we go. La, 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 la.
Play.
Boy, that's got to be maybe the most offensive countdown. I don't even remember that. Do you?
I don't either.
I have no rec. Oh man, this old open right here. I got to get just a few seconds before they kick us off. Here we go.
Okay.
Engage cybernetic generation sequence.
Man, and you said that you called this the Sid Vicious Open?
Yeah, that was Sid's arm. Okay.
That's Sid's arm
right there. That's Sid's arm. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
learn something new every day here on WSW.
Right. So there you go. Man, that is Terminator shit right there, isn't it?
Dude, I mean, it totally is Terminator. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, we are fresh off of Starrcade 93, and that's what you see there. Ric Flair walking that aisle for his main event against Vader. It's funny to think that that's one of the best matches in Starrcade history, and people still talk about it.
Right.
But it wasn't even the original plan. It wasn't supposed to happen. Can you imagine if we would have instead gotten Sid versus Vader? That wouldn't have been nearly as fun.
No, not in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Wow, look at you dancing off Kakalaki.
Yeah.
By the way, this show was a freebie, and
A freebie?
yeah, it was a freebie. This show was filmed at Center Stage in Atlanta on December 7th, 1993. Nearly a month later, it's going to air January 1st. 750 fans packed the place. They called it a sellout, but nobody paid for tickets. It was all free. Speaking of free, we've got an opportunity here to talk about you standing next to two bona fide legends. I would go so far as to say we got three legends there from left to right. It's Mean Gene Okerlund, Jesse the Body Ventura, and yourself. What'd you make of this trio right here, Tony?
This is one of those things where you kind of pinch yourself, honestly, and you realize that you're standing next to the greatest stick man ever, Gene Okerlund, and maybe the greatest color man ever in Jesse the Body Ventura.
Yeah, it's hard to argue.
Yeah. I watched Saturday night's main event. I watched the open of it until Jesse came out. And it is Jesse is back in the WWE. The Body is back. When he said that a couple of times, and I went click. I turned it because I just wanted to see him return. I
would encourage you to go watch the main event. He says, "Oh, by the way, how about this package here?" Whereas this is the original open for Starrcade 93, just running through the history of Ric Flair, and you see all these childhood photos.
Yeah.
And, I thought they positioned that main event to where it felt almost like Rocky IV, where Rocky has to kiss his family goodbye and fly to Russia to fight this mean, nasty giant who killed his best friend, Apollo Creed. That's sort of the way they positioned Flair and Vader. And to this day, you and I, and even Cody, we still hold that whole limousine ride sequence with Mean Gene and Ric Flair in such high regard. I was trying to explain that to Megan the other day, and she remembers being in the locker room area post-match, but had no recollection of the stuff at the house, which tells me that it was filmed the day ahead or a few days ahead. But
sure,
she had never seen the whole limousine thing. So I said, "Hey, we'll watch that at some point." But she was at the show in the backstage area, so it's not like she actually saw the package or any of that. But why do you think that whole limousine bit resonates so much with people like me and you and even Cody?
I think it's because of what Flair had meant to the business coming up to that time, and how special it was to be in Charlotte in his hometown, and how well Gene handled the whole thing. And it was kind of like, it was a little bit different than a normal Ric Flair promo that you would see on TBS, right?
Yeah.
It was kind of behind the scenes type, off the cuff stuff that you don't see anywhere. So that's why I made it very, very, very good. Then, of course, on this show, we show pictures of Ric Flair in the past, right? Which are very, very good pictures. And I was just wondering, as we're looking through all those pictures of Ric Flair, what age he became the knucklehead that he is today.
What's funny is I managed to stop by AEW last week for Dynamite. Of course, you knew I was coming, so you didn't show up. Well, that's right. You were serving your suspension, your paid suspension.
Right. Paid suspension is Lois's husband.
Which we've been talking about off air.
Yes, we have.
But I was having a conversation with someone, and I can't remember. It may have actually been your son, Matt.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Yeah.
But
did he say Dad's ready to jump off the roof of the house head first? Did he say that?
No,
okay.
He didn't.
Go ahead.
But we talked about a lot of things, as you could imagine.
Yep.
But somehow the Nature Boy came up, as he tends to do.
Yeah.
And I said something like, "Well, we're in his home state." And they were like, "What?" And I go, Yeah. He's a Tennessee kid. And they're like, "No, he's from Minnesota." I go, "No, he was raised in Minnesota. But before he was Richard Morgan Fleer, he was born here in Tennessee as Fred Phillips." And they were like, "What?"
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a black market baby. And they were like, "You're making this up. That's the thing about you. I can't tell if you're bullshitting." I go, No, that's all real. But I mean, what a crazy out of a movie story his whole life has been, isn't it?
Found in a box with all the litter of dogs that we were talking about. And of course, the girls at Motley Zoo took the dogs, and I guess a doctor and his wife in Minnesota took young Fred. Or what was his real name?
Fred Phillips.
Fred Phillips.
So next time you're at a Ric Flair meet and greet or autograph session, you want a really rare deal, get one of his rookie cards. Get one of those All-Stars from 1982 or some shit. David Peck's listening somewhere.
Yeah.
And get that rascal to sign that shit, Fred Phillips. I bet nobody listening has a Fred Phillips autograph from Ric Flair. I wonder if Rick would even do that.
Does Rick even know that's his name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We had a conversation about it years ago where his brother, his
Mel?
real life brother, tried to
Mel
connect
Phillips?
with him and wanted to meet him.
Okay.
And he was like, nah, no thanks.
All right.
Speaking of no thanks, we got 3 bona fide legends in the ring right here and one on the outside. That's Bill Dundee running around as motherfucking Jeeves. And then we got son of Jody Hamilton, Mr. Kenny Powers himself. Nick Patrick is our referee.
Yeah.
Terry Taylor is in the ring right now doing his best Ric Flair impression. And a very young, dapper. It's crazy to watch old Regal stuff because Regal is like a modern Arn Anderson, or maybe not even all that modern, but in the same vein as JJ and Arn. Like Regal always looked the same age to me.
Yeah, he did. Like kind of like JJ, right?
I'm just saying, like right here, Regal's in his 20s, but you'd be like, he's 42.
Sure.
No, he's like 25 or some shit. And you're like, 40 something.
Right.
Meanwhile, I saw Shelton Benjamin in real life and I'm like 30.
Yeah.
32.
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It is crazy. Is he a He-Man or what? My God. He and Bobby Lashley both. If I could just get their names straight.
Nicest guys ever.
Yeah, we got some great guys backstage. We really, really do. And I do need to say this without going into in depth about it, because I really don't like talking about the current stuff that much. I mean, this is what happened when, not what happened now.
Right. That's exactly right.
Right. How about Jeff Jarrett being confronted by MJF? Huh?
Man, it was so cool. I got to tell you, I was in the building and it was cool to see MJF work in person. I don't like him. I think he's a son of a bitch. But there was a moment where there was like a lull in the crowd and it got quiet and he knew exactly what to say to get them all to turn. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And then a few minutes later, Jeff made some sort of mention of, I've been champ 12 times.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a long time since you've been champ. I know you've won it before, but when was the last time? Because around these parts, we got a name for a guy like you. One hit wonder. And man, that crowd got with it. They were chanting one hit wonder even when the show was in a commercial. Like nothing's happening and they were still going with it. And I was just like, holy shit, man. You never know what's going to work, but it's not a surprise to me that, oh, you mean if you just give MJF and Jeff Jarrett a segment, people will react? Well, they did.
I liked it a lot, and I'm just happy for Jeff.
Oh, how could you not be? Just enjoying a real renaissance right now. And I, for one, can't wait to see one of my best friends just destroy one of the stars of the new Happy Gilmore. Like that'll be fun when I'm watching with my friends and family and be like, hey, my buddy beat that guy up real bad.
Yeah, beat him up
real bad. It was awesome.
Yeah.
We want to hear from you guys. We want to know what you're thinking about wrestling in 2025 or in 1994. What are your favorite wrestling memories from 1994? If you're part of our live studio audience, drop them in the comments. Tony, when I talk about 1994 to you, do you just immediately go to Hogan Flair Bash at the Beach, Hogan Flair, the retirement Halloween Havoc, or is there something else that you think of for 1994?
I think of Spring Stampede. Wasn't that Steamboat and Rude?
Yeah, Spring Stampede.
Yeah,
was in 94 was definitely Flair and Steamboat in Chicago. Let's look at the rest of that one though, because I do remember a lot of people saying that might be the best WCW card of all time.
Yeah.
Let's run through the matches that day. We had Danny Bonaducci and Christopher Knight. We also had Pat Tanaka and Hato against the Sullivans. And then the actual pay-per-view started. Johnny B. Bad versus Diamond Dallas Page. They opened every pay-per-view for 7 years with that match. Then they had a TV title match that went to a time limit draw with Regal and Brian Pillman. We also saw an unbelievable street fight with the Nasty Boys taking on Cactus Jack and Max Payne. How about Steve Austin wrestling the Great Muta for the U.S. title? And they got 16 minutes. Sting and Rick Rude hooked it up for the International World title. Sting won the big gold belt back there. We also had a bunkhouse match between Bunkhouse Buck and Dustin Rhodes. A singles match between Big Van Vader and the Boss. And then in the main event, Flair and Steamboat for the world title. 32 minutes. Lots of critical acclaim for that one at the Rosemont Horizon. You were on the call with Bobby the Brain Heenan. Mean Gene was there. Jesse was there.
Yeah.
Had Gary Michael Capetta and Michael Buffer doing the ring announcing. It was a good time for WCW. We're about 4 months away from that here. That went down April 17th, 1994 at the Rosemont. A lot of people in the chat, they really like Spring Stampede 94 as well.
It was good. It was great, as a matter of fact. And I think, if I remember correctly, we all knew that Hogan would be coming after that.
Yes.
So it was in the back of my mind. I was thinking that, wow, this is a great event, but the old WCW is in the rearview mirror now, brother. It's going to all change. And of course it did.
The next month they did Slamboree 94 that had Sting and Vader for the international title. It also had Cactus Jack and Kevin Sullivan against the Nasty Boys. And we would see Ric Flair and Barry Windham for the WCW title. One of the things that stood out to me in 1994, Slamboree here, was Terry Funk versus Tully Blanchard. Like a lot of people, I think, would have thought that, you know, oh, they don't remember Tully even being in WCW, but he did pop up at that Slamboree. It's kind of a shame that we didn't see more of Tully Blanchard in this modern WCW here, don't you think?
Yeah, that was not good at all. And of course, I think there's a well-worn story about why that didn't happen.
Yeah.
My question about the Tully match, you know, a Slamboree was called, quote unquote, a Legends reunion.
That's right.
And I guess that was one of the Legends matches, or the Legends match on that card.
Correct.
Yeah. So
what's interesting is, that was in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. I think that's where Paulie. No, that one probably was earlier. Yeah, that would have been earlier. That would have been back in the Bill Watts. I'm trying to think. There was one of those that I hosted with Bruno Sammartino, and that may have been back in the Bill Watts era as well. So yeah, it had to be, because JR was doing the commentary at that time, and JR wasn't doing the commentary here. So there was one of those Slamborees where Bruno and I were like the hosts. We would pitch down to JR. I think JR and Jesse, or JR and Paulie. I'm not sure. And that was one of those moments that I'm thinking, you know, God, I've worked with Gordon Soley. Now I've even worked with Bruno Sammartino. Can you beat that?
Yeah, you're talking about Slamboree 1993. So that would have been a year prior here.
Year prior. All right. Right.
And that one, just in case you're wondering, also called a Legends reunion, but that's at the Omni in Atlanta.
Okay. Right.
The main event of that one was Davey Boy and Big Van Vader. There's actually a singles title shot. Arn Anderson got a world title shot against Barry Windham, which is kind of cool. That's also the one that rather forgettably had Sting versus the former Nails when we were just calling him the Prisoner.
Mm.
Hey, I wanted to ask you, we
Yeah.
haven't spent any time talking about this.
Okay.
But I did a quick little search, and I remember it now with the benefit of hindsight. I wasn't paying much attention, but Paul Orndorff beat Tully Blanchard for the TWA Super Summer Sizzler, which was TWA sort of predated ECW in Philadelphia. That was in 1990. His next match after that, according to Cage Match, was Slamboree 94. And that would have been May, of course, of 94. But in September, and then later in October, and even November, there was a series of television tapings that happened for the NWA. And this is when they were running the Sportatorium. And this is actually Jim Crockett Jr. trying to think about getting back in the business. He ran a series of shows. And I remember reading about this, but obviously I wasn't paying attention. I didn't get any information back then about it. But it doesn't go anywhere. You know, Jim Crockett trying to get back in the business. So in 95, believe it or not, Tully comes back and has 4 more matches, 3 with ECW, January, February, March, and then in October, he makes a trip to Japan to wrestle Fujinami. But it's
Okay.
just a damn shame that we saw so little of Tully Blanchard. Like the idea of him jumping at the chance to go back to work for Mr. Crockett in 94. I mean, he had a series of fun matches. Action Jackson, Chris Adams, Devin Michaels. How about Michael Hayes and Scott Putski wrestling against him and Chris Adams? He
Wow.
even wrestled in a match with Junkyard Dog against Black Bart and Rod Price and Skandar Akbar. So there's some interesting names, including a young Curtis or a young Firebreaker Chip who was wrestling as Curtis Thompson. It just never went anywhere. Do you remember anything about the Crockett's trying to get back in and sort of put together the NWA again in 1994?
I remember hearing about that because Jimmy had been basically let go by our boss at that time, which was, the guy between Hurd and Bill Watts.
Kip Fry?
Yeah, Kip Fry. Kip Fry had let him go. Jimmy was, and I'm trying to choose my words carefully here. Jimmy was, at one time, he got very belligerent working there and was very belligerent to a lot of people, me included. And I remember I went to Kip and I said, Kip, I just left Jimmy's office and he's like going off the rails, irate, bitching about this, bitching about that. He shouted at me. He told me I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that, and I wasn't doing this right. And Kip shook his head. Kip said, yeah. He said, yeah, we're having a lot of problems with Jimmy. I'm going to tell him to go back to Dallas and just forget it. Just don't come back to work here. So he sent him back. Now, I'm sure Jimmy still got a paycheck. I'm sure that was still part of the payoff from Turner Broadcasting. But I have a feeling that Jimmy, and rightfully so, was still very pissed off about, what Turner did to him when he thought he was going to run the company, and they brought in a knucklehead like Jim Hurd to run the company. But Jimmy's just like lost it. And so Kip sent him back. And then it wasn't that long after that when I heard that he was trying to run wrestling again back in Dallas, because that's where he had moved and that's where he was living at that time. I guess it didn't work. David still worked for us at WCW, and Jimmy went on to open up a series of, at least I understand, some like Mailbox USAs or things like that. And I guess that's where he was able to continue to make a living that way. But I do remember Jimmy wanting to start to run wrestling again. But I mean, those days were over, right? Those territory days were over. And, almost anybody can open up a independent territory now. But it wasn't like that back then.
We should mention that Harlem Heat actually debuted with the company in June of 1993, and they're actually going to be a part of the dark match opportunity. So before we actually start filming the episode that we're on here, they're going to be in there, I believe, against the Cole Twins. But what we're watching right now is an enhancement talent with Pretty Wonderful. You got Paul Roma and Mr. Wonderful. But my favorite part of this is that their manager is the assassin. That is Jody Hamilton from the Power Plant. That is the real life father of Nick Patrick.
Right.
And then him being a heavy set dude out here in a suit and a mask.
Yeah.
Tickles the fuck out of me.
The assassin brother. They used him because he could talk. He was one of the better talkers that we had. He was one of the better talkers ever. And so that's why they used him, so he could do promos. And we were still doing a lot of local promos back then that eventually would fizzle out once Eric, turned this into mostly a television show, then an arena business. And so we're in a very transitionary time. Is that right?
It is now.
Yeah, transitionary time.
I'd say transitional, but whatever.
Transitional.
Hey, you guys did Dalton the day before.
Yep.
I assume you're at like the Georgia North Mountain Center, whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah, right. The Georgia
Whatever.
Sound. Right. Uh-huh.
What'd you think of that building?
It was flat, but it was okay. I didn't mind going up to Dalton.
Did that building have the bleachers that like pulled out like a high school?
No, for some reason they could have been, but for some reason I remember they had bleachers that they would put in there, like that you would put in
Okay.
a carnival, you know?
Well, that was the day before on December 6th, and you've actually got talent across the water, as my dad would say.
Uh-huh.
The Nasty Boys and Great Muta, Jushin Liger, a lot of those guys are tearing it up over in Japan with
Yeah.
folks like Scott Norton. That's happening at the exact same time. There's that tour of Japan going on.
Yeah.
But after you're in Dalton, you're going to run a house show in Kennesaw, Georgia.
Yeah.
Then you've got the actual television taping here in Atlanta. And I just feel like the proximity of those, where we're in Dalton on one day and the next day we've got two shows, one for TV in Atlanta and one's just a non-televised event in Kennesaw, Georgia. Like that feels like, just as far as proximity to Atlanta, Dalton, Atlanta, Kennesaw, man, those are all a pretty easy drive.
Right.
And it makes sense, I guess, because this show that we're watching right now, nobody that you see sitting in those seats paid $1. It was totally free.
Yeah.
But that same day, that live event in Kennesaw, Georgia, let me run you through the matches here. It's Hard Work Bobby Walker teaming with Craig Pittman to take on the Gambler and Big Daddy. Then it's Brian Anderson getting a win over Tom Zink, Diamond Dallas Page beating Jim Steele, Johnny B. Bad beating Tommy Rich, and Tex Slazenger and Shanghai Pierce fighting Too Cold Scorpio and Marcus Alexander Bagwell to a double disqualification. That was the non-televised live event, aka the house show in Kennesaw, Georgia on December 7th. Do you want to guess your paid attendance there that night, Tony?
455.
121.
Wow.
So I'm saying all that to say there's a lot of people who really get their little wee-wees hard when they talk about how many or how few tickets were sold.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to whack off at the glory days of WCW. What you're watching right now is a television taping where not one ticket was sold, it was given away. And where we did try to sell tickets the same day on a card that had Hall of Famers like Johnny B. Bad, the Godwins, Too Cold Scorpio, Buff Bagwell, Tom Zink, and DDP, we sold 121 tickets.
There's a lot of office people in the stands here too that I can see.
Oh, you recognize some?
Recognize a lot of people in the stands. Sure do.
So they're getting paid to be there.
In effect, I guess they are. They're getting paid to be there. This sounds like the old Georgia territory to me, doesn't it? Dalton, Atlanta, Kennesaw. Yeah, just run the Georgia towns.
Jason Taylor wanting to know, can we give you a time
Yes,
code? I'm
yes.
at 24, 31, 32, 33, 34. Where are you at, Tony?
I'm right with you. Yeah.
So join us 24, 37, 38, 39.
Jason Taylor, by the way, probably one of the world's greatest accountants and tax guys, but he can't count. So
roll tide on that.
Okay.
Hey, we got some questions from our live studio audience. Chris North says, a lot of talk about John Cena's last run. How would you like to see Dustin Rhodes finish up? I do like that Dustin is using this whole last ride thing. That's pretty cool. He re-signed another deal with AEW. Have you thought about what you might like the end of Dustin's run to look like? I mean, obviously we want to give him some big celebration and fancy send off, but what do you think that might look like, Tony?
Well, he's going to have to bleed. Knowing Dustin. But I would think that something on Dynamite involving Hangman Adam Page or getting a shot against the world champion, something like that. I mean, realistically, if you think about it, Dustin had one of the better matches ever in AEW when he and Cody wrestled at Double or Nothing. So his status in AEW is pretty much solidified. And as a coach, he does a hell of a job. And I would like to see him get a little run on Dynamite or Collision, other than just Ring of Honor.
I know I'm nostalgic. I mean, that's what this whole podcast and my whole wrestling experience is about, is nostalgia. But I, for one, hope that Double J gets world title at number 13 in AEW.
Uh-huh.
I sure would love to see Dustin win a world title before he hangs it up, even if it's the Ring of Honor world title. I know he's held tag titles and six mans and US's and intercontinentals, but damn it, let's put that world title on that man one good time.
Why not? Hey, by the way, our buddy out of the Boston area, Dave Clay, is with us.
Roll Tide.
Where are you, Dave? Dave McClain. Where are you, Dave? Let me see if he's still here. Dave,
He's actually got a question. He says, coworker of mine claims he came up with the term low-key big hog. His name is Nick. Any truth to this? Why are you stealing people's shit here, Tony?
Coworker of mine came up with the term low-key big hog. His name is Nick. Any truth to this? Well, anybody can claim anything, David. So why not? Why not believe him? Yes, he did it. Yes. Go ahead and trademark it, bud. Go ahead and trademark it. It won't cost you anything but a couple of grand. David, I was wondering, when it snows in the Boston area, and I know it snows a lot, does the mail service continue?
Is it supposed to be rain, sleet, snow, or shine, or some shit like that?
Yeah, but unfortunately in Atlanta, when you get an inch of snow, the mail cannot be delivered.
Well, now hang on now. I know what part of that is.
Yeah, Dave says sure does. Of course, Dave's a great mailman, and I get it, and he does a great job, and he works hard. But the mail service in Atlanta fucking sucks. Okay, to the point to where if I want to, and I hate to say this because Dave, we're not talking about you, buddy, but we're talking about some other people in your business. We don't mail things anymore. We don't. We do not use the U.S. mail service for anything in this house. And we'll either, if I've got to send something off, I'll send it by FedEx because it's horrible here. It's absolutely horrible.
Well, Tony, here's a real question. Can you imagine, as you're looking a gift horse in the mouth, as I like to say, can you imagine a scenario where I give you something, anything, a letter, a package, whatever, and maybe I'm going to mail you a check. I'm going to drop a check in the mail, Tony.
Yep.
And then I'm going to give you 2 quarters, like 50 cents.
Got it.
I'm going to say, I'm going to need you to send this to California.
Yeah.
And then they fucking do it. Like when I get the son of a bitch to bring me Taco Bell from 4 miles away, there's a $10 delivery fee.
I don't give a shit anymore.
But I can give these little fuckers 2 quarters and they'll take that shit to California. And you're over here saying it's fucked. It's not good.
No, I'm telling you right now, we have had more shit lost in the mail than anything. It's not dependable anymore. And by the way, DJ Turnup is with us. Tony, did you lose the hoodie I sent you? No, DJ, I didn't. Did you put it in the mail? MAIL. And the answer would be yes. And that's why I didn't get it. I'm telling you, the mail in Atlanta is brutal. Brutal. So there you go.
Yeah, I don't use the mail. I just check the mail. I don't actually mail anything.
Well, we go to the mailbox. You know what we get? We get junk. That's all we get.
You don't
Anything
get bills?
important? Anything important? No. What, bills? No, bills come through electronically.
Like the county doesn't send you your tax bill in the mail.
Oh yeah, they send a tax bill in the mail. Yeah.
I mean, I get my tags in the mail.
Yeah.
My property tax in the mail. Sometimes Lois sends me a locket of hair in the mail.
Dave said, "Did you tip your mailman?" No, I didn't. And maybe I should have. Maybe I should have given our mailman a Christmas present.
Okay, so here we are. We're backstage at Starrcade 1993, and you see Rick with his arm around Sting. They've got it all tarped up for the big champagne celebration, and Rick is rubbing his hands through the hair of Ric Flair, who left us in 2013. Man, what a scene that is. Rick and his dearly departed son in the backstage area after Starrcade. Man, what a moment.
Wow. It
I was
was.
actually talking to here's how old we are at my house. You know, we're nature people now, I guess, because we live out here on the lake with all this land. So we've got just ducks and geese and turtles and snakes and foxes and deer and fucking everything.
Yeah.
And my wife wanted a hummingbird feeder when we first moved in, and I was like, okay.
Okay.
And so then I saw this thing that I knew she would like because she's all of a sudden into birds, and it's called a Bird Buddy. Have you heard of this?
I've not heard of a Bird Buddy, but I'm excited, and I'm on one foot than the other for you to tell me about it.
It's like a fucking Ring camera for birds. So you know how you've got a doorbell, a Ring, most people have a Ring doorbell or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, this is a little birdhouse that's solar powered that you put bird seed in. And then whenever a bird pops up, it gives you a push notification and you can watch that little motherfucker up close eating his food. And it identifies the bird and tells you what species it is. And it lets you name the goddamn birds. And then it says, hey, these northern cardinals come around 7 a.m. And you get a push notification and you're watching live while the bird is in your backyard eating. So anyway, my wife is like in love with this Christmas present I got her. Now she wants like 4 or 5 all over the damn property. But the first bird that showed up was a red cardinal. And when I knew my mom was like going to be all about this. So she was asking my wife a bunch of questions when they were down at the beach house with us. And she's like, I don't know. I haven't set it up yet. So of course, Megan wants me, look at your app. Look, the bird. So I look. And then I sent it to my mom. And my mom says, in the South, they say if it's a red cardinal that comes to see you, that's supposed to represent, do you know where I'm going to go with this?
Yes, I do.
It means it's a dead person who's come back to visit you.
Yeah.
So as I'm wanting to kind of laugh about this, and when I'm like kind of wanting to dunk on my mom a little bit, so I'm like, Megan, can you believe? And before I can even finish, she goes, yeah, it was my brother. And I'm like, oh, okay, fuck, my bad. I didn't know that was a thing, Tony. So I'm learning a lot here. So
well, I don't know if I've told you the story or not. That because of all the fucking junk we have in our garage, I cannot put cars in the garage. We've got 2 cars that sit outside, and I'm cool with that. But I had to buy these things to cover up the side view mirrors, and they are things to cover up the side view mirrors because birds will sit on your side view mirrors, look at themselves in the mirror, and then shit down your car when they see themselves, right? So you get out and you got bird shit all down your doors. It's a legit thing. So we've got every night we cover up the side view mirrors. And when that started happening, I told Lois, I said, there's a fucking red bird out there that is shitting all over my car. And it looks itself in the mirror. I said, we need to get something to cover it up with. And I looked on Amazon. They got these covers. And Lois says, yeah, that's my mom. I went, what? So he said, yeah, a red bird is a former person who passed away in your family. They've come back.
wow.
I said, your mom is shitting on my car? She said, I guess, but that's the red bird out there doing that. And you said it. And yeah, I believe that. Lois's mom flies around shitting on people's cars around here.
Well, I guess I was saying all that to say, I never got to meet Reed, but I guess he's come to my house about 7 o'clock in the morning these days. I actually, when Megan said that, I said, can you imagine if I actually got to hang out with Reed and she just stopped what she was doing and looked and said, trouble.
Yeah.
Hey, Bobby says, without internet, that app would not know anything. Correct, Bobby.
Yeah.
You do hook it up to your Wi-Fi. It's how you can access it. But I don't know why, but it tickles me that Bobby's like, yeah, it only knows because the internet. Yeah, we know, Bobby. Can you imagine? That'd be hilarious. By the way, we got a bunch of other questions here for you. This one is from Bobby. He wants to know, Hogan arrived in June of 94.
Yeah.
How long prior to that were you made aware of his signing with WCW?
Probably by April or May, right after. You know what? I'm thinking that I knew that even before it started, even before Slamboree, or I'm sorry, Spring Stampede. So I'm thinking maybe in February, March, April, something like that. We knew he was coming around. So that was well known.
Tony, since you and I have been recording tonight,
Yeah.
there's a quote that's come out from Deion Sanders.
Oh, I think it would
Hear
be
from Jerry Jones is truly delightful, and it's intriguing. I love Jerry and believe in Jerry. After you hang up and process it and think about it, it's intriguing. But I love Boulder and everything there is about our team, the coaches, our student body, and the community. It almost sounds like Jerry Jones is testing the waters with Deion Sanders to be the head coach of the Cowboys. What do you think of that shit, Tony?
Well, I think that sounds pretty good because Mike McCarthy was given the boot today, wasn't he? And I had read that, and I thought, well, Deion's going to get a shot at that job, and there you go.
Wait, you thought Deion was going to get a shot at that job earlier today?
Yes. From when
Wow.
I read that McCarthy was gone.
I can't imagine anyone wanting to coach the Cowboys.
Exactly, and that's one of the things that probably Deion had in his mind but didn't say.
Okay.
Deion was probably thinking, I wouldn't want to fucking coach that fucking team, right? But he said, I love Boulder. That's how it came out.
Hey, speaking of football, since you and I have spoken last,
Yeah.
Carson Beck,
Yes, he's in Miami.
he gone.
Hey, gone. Take that Lamborghini and go.
$4 million. And as a friend of ours said, he didn't go for the $4 million. He went for that girlfriend.
Yes, he did.
Undefeated.
Uh-huh.
History of time and space.
Yes.
Are you surprised? Are you disappointed? Or do you give a shit?
Number one, I don't give a shit. Number two, I'm not surprised. And number three, I'm definitely not disappointed.
Did you see that lady in the Cactus Jack shirt get all hot and bothered when he came out?
Yes, I did. Do you know who is also in the audience here?
I don't know, but Matt Coon just stood right in front of Mick Foley. That's definitely Matt Coon.
Okay. Scott Hudson is in the audience tonight. I saw him.
Oh, I got to look for him.
Yeah, you got to look for him. He's upper right with a gray shirt on. And Annette Yother is in the studio, before she became this horrible person with Craig Leathers by her side. She is one of the office personnel in the stands tonight.
Did you say a horrible person?
Yeah, she was terrible.
Wow.
Ask Arn Anderson. I would tell you to ask Kevin Sullivan. Kevin's not around anymore, obviously, but Kevin would told you the same thing. Annette is right as they hooked up right there. Okay. There's a blonde girl in the black clapping right there. And you'll get to see her again. I shouldn't even spend any more time on her than I need. Scott Hudson is upper right. And the reason I saw Scott was when Johnny B. Bad got up on the turnbuckles with his glitter blaster. You can see Scott Hudson say, no glitter.
That's funny.
Scott used to come to the matches. He and his friends used to come to the matches at Center
Before
Stage.
he was a part of the crew, he was just a fan coming to see the shows.
Yeah.
Just like another buddy of mine.
Yeah, absolutely.
James Elkerai says, how do you know whether to be silent or let a moment happen or make a call and be the voice of the move? What goes into being silent of trying to make a quote for the match? So I think what he's talking about in announcer terms is laying out. How and when do you know is the right time to lay out? Is it a gut feeling or are there best practices, Tony?
Well, it depends on who your color guy is, because I try to let the color guy get in as much as he can. There's so many factors that go into laying out. Sometimes I'm laying out because somebody's talking to me and telling me what to say next. Sometimes I'm laying out because I'm just freaking worn out. Sometimes I'm laying out because I've run out of things to say, but mostly I'm laying out, giving our color guy a chance to talk, because I think it's very important. I think it's very important, like Nigel or back when Jesse was there or working with Bobby, to let them get their shit in. They're the entertaining part of this. I'm just like the traffic cop. So I don't look to try to make quotes. I don't look to try to say something memorable. I don't. I try to just try to make the match as exciting as I can. The quote that I guess I'm most known for is Hulk Hogan, you can go to hell, straight to hell, was done right off the cuff. I did not write that down. I did not plan it. And you can tell when some announcers have pre-planned things they're going to say. When the Yankees won the 1999 World Series, Bob Costas had a planned thing he was saying on that fly ball that was going to left field that was caught. And it was really, really disingenuous. It was really hokey. And you could tell he had it planned to the point where I went, oh, Jesus. But I don't plan. I don't look for quotes. I don't go for quotes. I don't give a damn if 411 fuck sheet comes up with a quote of mine or not. I'm not doing it that way. I'm doing it to try to put the guys over. And that's what you should try to do. So there's no plan when to stop talking and when to start talking. So there. Sometimes I think, and I've talked to Excalibur about this. I talked to Excalibur sometime. I said, and Tony was there. And I said, we don't have to call every spot. And Tony Khan says, if they're exciting, you do. I said, okay, then I guess we do. But sometimes I just don't think you need to, because it's television. And so that was my thought on that at that time. But anyway, we'll see.
Speaking of we'll see, we've just seen Cactus Jack and Max Payne pick up a win here. I miss enhancement matches.
Yeah.
You ever think about what you've done in your life and think to yourself, I'm an asshole?
No.
Well, if you did,
I think to myself, I've made some mistakes.
I was just trying to transition to this funny video here, Tony. Take a look.
Okay.
Being an asshole is my love language. Being an asshole is my love language. Don't listen to me, or you will regret it. Being an asshole is my love language. It's my love language.
I could see you at AEW singing that song.
God bless America. God bless the internet.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Because I do think being an asshole is kind of mine and your love language. We're just shitty at each other all the time.
Yeah, we sure are. That's our love language. Hey, do you know the single most entertaining thing on the internet is?
Porn.
No.
Dogs.
No.
Dog porn.
No.
I don't know. Wrestling.
No, it's
Dave Meltzer.
It's cop cams.
Oh my God. Making it so mad when I watch them, but
there's nothing like it.
Better than a Karen getting arrested.
Oh, Lord of mercy. Is that no there's or entitled teen getting arrested?
Oh God.
Oh, or just people oh God, this one girl.
I just love seeing like when somebody has to get tased for just being an asshole.
Oh.
Megan gets so annoyed. Like, why are you watching this? I go, because this is what cops should have been. This is so much better.
I know. There's one girl who kept saying, I'm an indigenous person and I'm having a mental breakdown right now. And you cannot pull me over because I'm afraid of you and you're a cop. And she got tased.
Oh gosh.
And also videos of people being thrown off an airplane. That's another great one. But cop cams are the best. That's the best thing ever.
Well, I don't know if it's the best thing ever, but I do think that I have, maybe the best thing ever to get you next Christmas. Of course, Christmas is in the rearview mirror, but you're a hard guy to buy for.
It's difficult. Yeah.
Where are you at on toast?
Toast?
Yeah. Or where are you at on grilled cheese?
Well,
here's what I'm thinking. Just take a look at this and let me know if you'd be thumbs up or thumbs down on this, Tony.
Okay.
The grilled cheeses. Spread love, lift up your hearts, have fun, and keep it holy. Use Swiss. This is like a panini / grilled cheese maker. And the imprint is to make it look like our Lord and Savior. What do you think of the grilled cheeses?
I think that's sacrilegious.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, well, see, I was doing it to celebrate. I didn't think it was making fun. I thought it was cool.
I couldn't eat it unless the priest would bless it, you see.
Well, I think the priest would say, bless it. Your wife don't cook. Eat that grilled cheeses.
Meanwhile, Harley Ray's telling us about the awesome Kongs.
Yeah, they look like a couple of overinflated dicks out there. You know, like when that one time Bad Money Slim used a pump a little too long. When was the last time you tried a penis pump, Tony? I know Bad Money Slim usually does it during our program, but when was the last time you personally hooked one up and went
No,
like you're taking your blood pressure the hard way?
no,
Literally.
no. I've never used one. My God, what's wrong with you?
Oh, okay. Might just be me.
Yeah.
How do
Dave
you know?
McClay,
Listen, every now and again,
Dave McClay said his grandma would love that Jesus.
I'm telling yes, David McClay, it is a real thing. You should go out and look up grilled cheeses and hook grandma up.
A grilled, that really is a thing?
Yeah, hell yeah, it's a real thing.
Hmm.
By the way, maybe if you don't want to buy it, maybe you might be just looking.
Shockmaster.
Take a look at this one right here, buddy. This is one of my favorite captions, and I hope you're watching along with us on WHWMonday.com because this is the most Tony thing ever.
Yeah.
See a picture of a young man with his back against the wall watching a scantily clad woman dance.
Uh-huh.
And it says, don't even shoot my shot anymore. I just stare at him like this and move on. That's Tony Schiavone every Wednesday, boys and girls.
You're not kidding. You're not
Stare at him like this and move on.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, every now and again, Dave Silva, I'll send stuff to Dave Silva through the week. And then once we actually sat down and clicked record, he just sent me a bunch of shorthand that I guess he knows what it is, but I have no idea. But he's waiting on me to say these series of words so he can dust them off for you.
Okay.
I have no idea what this is. So here's no clapping. You want to read these?
No clapping cheeks on the clock. Got it. All right.
That's posted. It'll work. Here's another one.
Okay. There's the do not piss in the trash can, sinks or cups. It's nasty, unsanitary. Never.
Dude, no clapping cheeks at work. Isn't that a great sign? Like, what happened where they felt like they needed to put that up there?
Must be a really, really terrible place to work. Really dirty place to work.
Wait. It would be a better place to work if clapping cheeks was allowed. Is that what you're saying?
I would think so.
Well, can you clap cheeks in the backstage area at AEW? I feel like that's frowned upon.
I don't know. You can always clap cheeks in silence, can't you? Are we talking about farting?
No. Clapping cheeks is fornication, Tony.
Oh, that's what that is?
Yeah. It's when a man loves a woman, you see.
Clapping cheeks?
You're not familiar with this.
No. What kind of uncool bullshit is this?
Man, I really wish I would not have told you that because I could have totally talked you into walking right up to Taz this Wednesday and say, how about you, buddy boy? You ready to get them cheeks clapped? Ha ha. And the entire room would have died. But now there's no chance you'll do it because now it's basically saying, Taz, can I introduce you to my button on a fur coat? Hashtag
Clap Cheeks
Jones.
Wow. And through all this mindless talk, the Shockmaster was in the ring.
Oh, aren't you terribly disappointed we didn't spend more time on that?
On WCW Saturday Night. Yeah.
I don't know what some of these mean. I got the devil. Okay. Check this out. This is a real thing. This is from Super 70 Sports on Twitter. Now you can finally get that demon out of Becky once and for all and feed the whole family for under $3. because there's a sign here for the St. Thomas Satanic Exorcism near Bardstown, Kentucky, Wednesday, August 7th. And they've got all you can eat fried chicken for 50 cents. So exorcism and fried chicken.
Good God.
Would you have gone to that?
No. Don't like
Wait.
fried chicken.
50 cents. It's unlimited fried chicken for 50 cents. You're still not going.
Don't like fried chicken.
Okay. You got to get hot about it.
I'm not. Have you ever followed this guy? And you know what? We probably should try. There's a lot of cool people on the internet. I mean, we found Big Mark, right? Or
the best. The best.
Yeah. There's this another guy on the internet, and he's from the Boston area. And he always comes up with the signs like this, okay? And he's called Never Mind Anthony or something like that. I follow him. I mean, it's one of the guys I follow, but and he always has like these crazy things, like, and a lot of the crazy things you see are Chinese signs that have been interpreted into something else. So I don't remember, but he's from the Boston area. So we ought to get him on here with some of his funny shit.
I love that.
He also has, he also sells merch, so he's doing quite well.
Speaking of quite well, we had some inclement weather. We had some snow recently. We got snowed in here in Alabama. Did you get snowed in?
I did not.
But the mail didn't run, of course.
The mail didn't run. I didn't have anywhere to go that day.
I forgot. You got the Range Rover Jones. You're never snowed in.
Well, that's not necessarily the case. I just didn't have anywhere to go that day. But go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say there's a new rap sensation out there for these weather circumstances. Are you in the loop on this?
No.
No, this is your kind of deal. Take a listen.
1, 2, 3 into the 4 inches of snow are piling up outside your door. Winter's made an entrance, so back on up. So you better zip your jacket up. Give me the microphone first so I can talk travel trouble. From Scranton to DC right now, commute times are double. It's a meteorology thing, baby. 2 lows got the snow going crazy. Fox Weather is a station that pays me. It's free and streamable, so you don't have to pay for this. But back to the forecast at hand. Convection is convected and it's coming down in bands. From a meteorology's perspective, you'll be digging out of a ditch if your driving's not defensive. The weather's cold and you're shivering and quivering and there's a weird tingling in your hand. Put some mittens on while you're out in it because there ain't no snow worthy of losing a digit. Heck no. And that's the real feel out in that snowy field. So now you know before you go out and snowmobile. Just make sure that you're properly bundled up so you stay safe and all of that fluffy stuff. It's like this and like that and like this and it's like that and like this and like that and it's like this. And it's so flippin' cold, so just chill and watch Netflix at home.
How about that? Is that a rap song you can get behind? That's like a Tony Schiavone special right there.
Boy, that really sucked. That really sucked.
See, you could have done that one and not been in trouble. You could have.
Yeah, I sure could have done that one and not been in trouble, but that one sucked.
Hey, speaking of sucking, Bad Money Slim says, while we're talking about cock pumps, you think Tony could use one of those back suction cups for his button instead? So, the whole cupping therapy like Kenny Omega does, you think you could do one of those with your cock and balls?
I don't know. Those things are pretty stiff.
Can we check it out when you're in Huntsville? Can we just try?
No, but I got you taken care of in Huntsville.
What does that mean?
I got a big surprise for you in Huntsville.
Oh, I don't like the sound of that.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Wait, is Lowe's coming?
Whew, no.
All right.
No, I got a big surprise for you. As a matter of fact, I'm going to have to get it videotaped.
Bobby says, do they serve wings at the Boot in Huntsville? Yes, they do indeed. Some of the best wings in Huntsville. So be sure to check that out when you're here for Top Guy Rumble, if you will.
Mm-hmm. By the way, the Instagram, and I guess he has a TikTok right now, is called Nobody Cares Anthony.
Well, TikTok won't exist in 6 days. So
right. His name is Anthony Varela, and he's from the Boston area. And some of the stuff he posts is like fucking hilarious. So anyway, just thought I'd give him a shout out. He's got 837,000 followers on Instagram.
Here's what we've seen so far on WCW Saturday Night. Lord Steven Regal with Sir William picked up a win over Terry Taylor. Paul Orndorff and Paul Roma with the Assassin beat Scott Studd and Brady Boone. Johnny B. Bad picked up a win over Tony Zane, and after the bout, Mean Gene did an interview with him where he said Michael Hayes is coming back to the ring. Cactus Jack and Max Payne beat Mark Kyle and Robbie Eagle. The Colossal Kongs beat a young Scott D'Amore and Ben Jordan. Then we saw the Shockmaster beat J.L. Sullivan. And right now we're in the middle of Brian Pillman and Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker. Still to come, we've got Pat Rose, J.D. Wolf, Sting, Steve Austin, Teddy Long, Colonel Robert Parker, Marcus Alexander Bagwell, Too Cold Scorpio. And this is a big time show here, man. But they're spending a lot of time with Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker and Brian Pillman. When you think of Brian Pillman, I know we've talked about this before, you know, he really had multiple sort of acts in WCW. He had the Bengals, Flying Brian, then he had the Hollywood Blondes version, and then he's got, you know, the singles run that he enjoyed almost as a part of a faction with the Four Horsemen. Of those three, is Flying Brian your favorite, or is there a different iteration you prefer?
No, Flying Brian's my favorite. That's the one I think about with the Bengals tights and where he was very positive and everything, and before he turned heel. I like the old Flying Brian. That's what I remember, and that's the one I liked. I want to go back when you were talking about Brady Boone's partner.
Yeah.
That was Scotty Riggs, who was Brady Boone's partner. I don't know what you said.
Oh, they called him Scott Studd.
Okay, it was Scotty Riggs. Yeah.
By the way, I got to tell you, it tickled me. I was fortunate enough to be at Dynamite last week, and I'm hanging out in the backstage area, and around the corner, there's Scotty Riggs.
Yeah, how about that?
Scotty and I have been communicating for almost 10 years on Twitter, but that was actually the first time we ever met each other.
Wow.
And I don't think that a lot of people even knew. I mean, I'm sure the world saw Scotty Riggs' story last year, thanks to DDP and Buff Bagwell. But I don't think a lot of people knew that he's working for AEW now. How cool is that?
Yeah, behind the scenes, Scotty's been with us for, over
Like
6 months
or so, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I think it's great that Tony and Coach and the company gave him a job, let him work for us. Scotty really battled through, as I think most of you guys know, if you watched, you know, all the stuff about him on the internet, going through DDP's. What the hell do we have here?
What do you think Brian Pillman is saying right here?
Oh God. You know, he's probably saying, you know, Mean Gene, before the night is over, we are going to choke this chicken. What is, I don't get this. I don't even remember this angle. This has to be an angle where he's in a chicken suit. Did we do something with the San Diego chicken? I remember something like that.
Foghorn Leghorn. And that's what they are calling him, Brian. I can't believe even the fans here in the studio are calling him that. Well, that's because once you look beyond that phony facade of the poor man, Colonel Sanders.
That's what it is. Okay. He called Colonel Parker Foghorn Leghorn.
And you thought it was the goddamn San Diego chicken?
Well, there was something we did with the San Diego. There's something that comes to mind with the San Diego chicken. Don't know what it is. Maybe we were going to do something and we didn't. But I remember it distinctly because I remember the guy who was the San Diego chicken, the original chicken. We couldn't use the name San Diego chicken anymore. We had to call him the chicken or the original chicken or something. And the little guy was like, was really a jerk, and nobody really liked him. And I just remember.
I don't know why it tickles me, but it tickles me that you're hung up on this chicken when we know for sure you don't even like chicken. But
I like chicken, but I don't like fried chicken. But I like chicken. I like
who the
baked chicken.
fuck doesn't like fried chicken?
I don't like fried chicken. I like baked chicken.
Hang on. You don't like chicken fingers. You don't like Chick-fil-A.
No.
You don't like chicken nuggets.
No.
You don't like chicken tenders.
No.
Who are you? What do you just jack off with sandpaper? I mean, you just hate fun. You hate your life.
Well,
I had chicken fingers for dinner tonight.
Did you really?
I'm an adult baby.
No, what you are is a gigantic redneck is what you are.
Well, here's how much I like chicken.
Do you have tater tots too?
No, I had a grilled chicken breast today for breakfast.
Okay, I like that. I like grilled chicken. I like grilled chicken breast.
But my wife was getting her hair did in Huntsville, so she didn't get home until after 8. So I had to fend for myself for supper tonight.
Yeah.
And that won't continue. Let me just say that in a loud and clear voice.
Wow.
But we had I went with chicken tenders today because a guy I work with was telling me, "Hey man, I had slim chickens today," and I was like, "Oh, that's a good idea. Have you had slim chickens before?"
No.
Oh, you'd like that.
Okay.
They've got a dessert that I don't ever eat dessert when I go through the drive-thru. I mean, clearly I'm a big fat ass. I'm not opposed to dessert, but I'm just saying, like, if my mom makes a cake or if Megan makes something or whatever, like, that's sort of what we do. But like a drive-through dessert to me is like, because I remember as a kid, like people eating those apple pies, and I was like, these aren't any good. I don't want these.
Yeah, those McDonald's apple pies.
Like,
yeah.
Fuck this thing. I don't want that. So I just never got into like drive-through desserts. I told Cassio once I was going to Slim Chickens. Do you want anything? And he goes, yeah, I want that Oreo cheesecake in a jar gimmick. And I'm like, wait, what? He goes, you'll know it when you see it. And Slim Chicken sells a dessert that is a piece of cheesecake with a bunch of Oreos crumbled up in there with whipped cream in a glass goddamn jar in a drive-thru. And I don't know why, but I'm like, we're in a drive-thru. You're supposed to be handing me shit in a paper cup. What? This is like a mason jar. It's a glass jar that you just handed me through the whip. Like, what's going on? Anyway, he says it's the best drive-thru dessert around, but a glass jar dessert in a drive-thru, Tony, threw me for a loop.
That's something you got to take home to eat, unless you're at a long stoplight.
Well, here's what it is. Like, there is not one woman who's like, oh, I'm finished with my dessert. I'm going to throw it away. No, we're going to clean that glass out and we're going to put it in the kitchen cabinet.
You're right.
I mean, those are like, it became a joke in my house because every year around Christmas, we'd be opening presents. And now we all look at mom like, is this a box we can throw away or is this a box we keep for next year, sort of thing? And it's like, what do we do? Why are we doing this? Like, we're trying, we think this is the goddamn Great Depression and we got to save fucking Christmas box and put it up. It's like, what are we? And so now it's when I saw Cassio eating the jar, I'm like, if his betrothed was still in his life, she'd be like, now we can clean that out. We can do some canning.
Yeah.
So this winter we can pull out, and it's like, what? Throw it the fuck away. It's supposed to be disposed. Why is it glass? Oh, there it is. Look, stupid ass Silva just found it right there. Cheesecake in a jar.
My God. That looks pretty damn good, doesn't it?
No, listen, I'm not going to lie. It's a great idea, but I just didn't expect that in a drive-thru. But I mean, it even says, I didn't even notice this. It says Slim Chickens on the glass jar. So it's not actually technically a mason jar. But I'm telling you, I know it's just a matter of time before my buddy Bart at the Meat Mart, he's pickling some bullshit and he's going to hand it to me in a damn Slim Chickens jar. And I'm going to know he's been eating that damn Oreo cheesecake dessert.
Do you know, you were talking about saving the jars and saving the box or whatever. Okay. Yeah. That's why I can't pull cars into the garage.
Oh, it's filled with that shit that we might use one day.
Yeah. It's filled with boxes. Lois still thinks that that she is with a family and her father is still stationed in like Fort Knox, Kentucky, and they're going to move to Arkansas any day now. So she's got to pack everything up and move. And I told her, I said, we've lived in this house 35 years. This is not your family's. When you were growing up, you're not going to move. Your dad's not going to be stationed somewhere else now because she was an Army brat. And they used to have to move all the time. So, oh, this is a great box. Oh man, it drives me up a fuck. And we've had fights over it. You know, did you throw away that box? Yes. That was a good box. I don't give a shit. It was a good box.
Think about that sentence. It's a good box.
Yeah. I told her, I said, if we need to ship out something in a good box, I'll buy the fucking good box. Okay, to ship it out.
Buddy, we're singing from the same hymn book, because I had a similar conversation with my wife when we first got together, and she saw what was happening, and she looked one day and she was like, should I save the box? And I said, for what? And she goes, in case we need it. I reached my hand out and I put my hand on her hand and I said, baby, I'm always going to have box money. Not going to be a scenario where you really need a box. We just got to wait till next month.
Yes. So we are reaching out to all the guys out there.
Yes.
Whose house is cluttered with fucking boxes. Okay. Yes. Unite. Let's have one day this year, sometime when it gets warmer, where we all get together and throw away the boxes at the same fucking time.
Well, I don't know if we can do it at the same time, but I would advise that you do it when your wife's going to get her hair did, because she's going to be gone for hours, and you can get rid of a lot of boxes. And here's what I've done with that. I have done this, but my wife's already asleep, so I can tell you.
Yeah.
Tony, I've got a dumpster at the office in Huntsville, you see.
Right.
So what I'll do is, after she goes to work, I'll just throw all that in the back of the X5. And then when I get to Huntsville, pop the lid.
Yep.
Right in the dumpster it goes. She don't know.
Yeah.
And so she's like, hey, did you move all that stuff, all those boxes to storage? I sure did.
Yeah.
Being stored in a giant metal rectangle in Huntsville for at least 3 more days.
Hey, I'll even top that story. Back in the WCW days, okay, the boxes were so bad in the house, I rented a storage unit and took a lot of the boxes to the storage unit. Lois got pissed off at me for taking the boxes out of the garage and put in the storage unit because, as she said, we're in the storage unit now and we'll never use them because they're out of sight, out of mind. She fucking said that to me. And I went, yeah, they're in our sight and they're in our mind and we'll never use them. Good God. Teddy Long. What I want to say, Mean Gene, and what I want to say to all my friends out there, Mean Gene, is that Marcus Alexander Bagwell. See how Teddy used to dip down when he come up with a, I love
bending the knees. That's fun.
Bending the knees. Yeah. And say what I want to say to Scorpio. If you take a look at him right now, what he's patting on right now is a long snake.
What?
The biggest one in the business.
What?
Yes, sir. That's right. He has hurt some women with that thing right there. Yes. I mean, I heard that he would put Colonel Robert Parker to shame.
God is God.
Go ahead.
Let's talk about some news from WCW in that era. Can we?
Okay. Yeah, let's do.
We got a big write-up in the Observer before Starrcade. I guess they were actually reviewing Starrcade, and they're just talking about his entire timeline of his career. It's something else. If you're an Observer reader, I would encourage you to go find the one that's dated January 3rd, 1994. It just lays out pretty much his entire career, and it's pretty remarkable. The write-up.
You talking about Flair's career?
Flair's, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And it was all to talk about Starrcade, of course. And he gave Flair and Vader in the main event 4.5 stars. If that match, just based on the emotion of the crowd and the story they told, like if that's not 5 stars, what is, Tony?
Yeah, that's right. It goes back to the discussion we've had on an earlier podcast. What constitutes a 5-star match?
Right.
And, I think the number one thing that constitutes a 5-star match is the emotion in the match or the emotion of the storyline. Of course, they got to perform. I get that. But I mean, that thing was a 5-star match.
There's no doubt.
Yep.
Let's talk about some other news and notes from this time. 1994 is interesting because you're seeing Terry Funk wrestling Sabu for the ECW title. You're also seeing Mike Awesome in ECW debuting. This is way back in 1994. Actually, that was the day after Christmas, 1993. But it's written here, both Flair and Vader came out of the match worse for wear. Vader, to the best of my knowledge, hasn't wrestled since that match, although he went to all the cities and did interviews. He had his eye totally shut, apparently during the point where Flair banged him twice with a chair and then had him laying on the apron and was throwing punches to his face. I guess Vader wanted Flair to really lay him in. He also suffered a toe injury when his toe hit first when he did the moonsault. Flair worked the next night in Winston-Salem, even though he was banged up. But on the 28th in Raleigh, he was back at the show, but simply came out as a second for Arn Anderson. Anderson's first match back was in Winston-Salem against Paul Roma. There are no noticeable stab wounds, but as would be expected, he didn't appear to be in the best shape after being out of the ring for 2 months. By the way, the stuff in Flair's house at the beginning of the pay-per-view was shot a few weeks before the pay-per-view, although the post-match stuff was live, which is why he had 3 kids at the beginning of the show and 4 kids at the end. Well, it's also worth noting that Megan would have been 19. Right. So she's a legal adult off to college, and David is not yet out of the house. So, yeah, he's at the house because he's there on Christmas break.
Okay.
But Megan wasn't. I mean, she's a grown-up.
Right.
But I find it interesting that Anderson's first match back is a few days after Christmas. So just the day after Starrcade, that's when Arn's back. As a reminder, Sid was supposed to be in Flair's spot. Him and Arn getting a stabbing contest in the UK. Sid gets fired. We need a new main event. It's Ric Flair. And Arn comes back the next day. Did you think at any point, based on Arn's injuries, that they may have been so devastating he wouldn't return? Or did you know he'd always be back? It's just a matter of when.
No, I thought he'd be out for quite a while from just the reports I heard, and back then you just hear word of mouth stuff. But I thought Arn would be out quite a while. And then Arn didn't talk about it that much, afterwards. There really wasn't much discussion about it from Arn. I didn't go up to Arn and say, hey, tell me about how that happened.
Yeah, why would you?
Yeah, exactly. But it's something I wouldn't mind talking to him about it now,
Yeah, the issue is, though, and I understand this, Arn didn't want to talk about it. It's hey, it's in the rearview mirror.
Right.
Known.
Right.
Talking about it just stirs up shit. Put it in the past. Put it in the rearview, which I get.
Yeah.
Sting was on MTV the 2 days prior to this. He was a judge for a lip syncing contest. Flair was on the sidelines for the University of Florida Sugar Bowl. He gets a huge crowd reaction, taking photos with a bunch of players there. Chris Cruz and Larry Zbyszko are going to be doing the Power Hour from this point forward. And it's written here, apparently there's a major feud going on with Gene Okerlund and Jesse Ventura against Jim Ross. Okerlund made some sarcastic remarks about Ross on the hotline, although nothing serious. But Ventura has gone a lot deeper on TV, including this past week on Worldwide, asking, whatever happened to the fat Okie that made a remark about me broadcasting shows that have midgets dressed up as clowns? Like Ventura has never broadcasted on a show that had a midget dressed up like a shark trying to blow up a boat. Ross was on his WWF radio show and called Ventura overrated and made comments about Dusty Rhodes' weight, which was equally ironic. Man, this is obviously in the era where JR has switched jerseys and he's working for the competition.
Right.
But do you remember Gene and Jesse trying to just sneak in little jabs against JR in this era?
Yeah, I remember Jesse when JR showed up I think I've told this story before. JR showed up at the WrestleMania, right? His first show, wearing a toga. And Jesse said on Saturday night, there's nothing worse on television than seeing a fat man in a toga. And he was talking about JR.
Yep.
And JR came back to the office to clear his desk. This was after WrestleMania. And he heard about the comment and he jumped on me about it. He said, do you think that was funny? Did you? Did you think it was? He was really upset. I said, Jim, I didn't think it was funny, but listen, that's him saying it, not me. So don't jump on me. And then Jim calmed down. Later, he said, I apologize. I know it wasn't you. I'm just pissed off at what Jesse had to say. So I do remember that. And I do remember he and Jesse just did not get along, because when Jesse came to work for WCW and was working with JR on Saturday night, Jesse was making more money than JR. And that pissed JR off, from what I remember. And so JR didn't take too kindly to it. And that's why the animosity brewed and bubbled over between the two.
We're talking over a pretty incredible main event. It's Sting versus Steve Austin. Once upon a time, that would have been a dream match, but it happened. And it's here on January 1st, 1994. Thank you guys for joining us and watching along with us. We got a bunch of different questions here. Jason Taylor, one of the world's greatest accountants and tax guys, says, okay, non-wrestling question. Have you guys watched Landman yet? I'm currently binge watching Dexter. Both are excellent shows. Landman is my new favorite. Tony, everybody in my family really enjoys Landman. They just had their season finale for season 1. I think Billy Bob recently did an interview saying he hopes that they'll start filming season 2 in either February or March. So we're probably a year away from seeing another season. Did you catch any Landman on Paramount, or is that not your thing yet?
Started to watch it, and then something happened. We didn't finish it. I got as far as I guess it was his son was in the car when they went through the drive-through with the good-looking girls and the coffee, and he wanted a latte, and they poured it out, and so that was like at the beginning of it.
Yeah, you got to check back in with that. I tried to get into the new Dexter. I'm not into it.
Yeah,
I love the original Dexter, but original sin's a pass for me now. Maybe I'll come back some other time. Dave McClay wants to know, what do you think, Tony, about the greatest football coach of all time now coaching UNC?
Yeah.
Well, that's close, but I think they just announced they're putting him in the Hall of Fame. Of course, we're talking about Nick Saban.
Right.
He's just a talking head and the greatest coach that ever lived.
Right.
But he did used to work with a fellow named Bill Belichick. He's making some headlines right now. He was tonight, of course, on the call with Peyton and Eli as the Vikings just got thumped by the Rams. But in real life, he's taking a gig now, coaching as the head coach of North Carolina. And I guess there's a lot of chatter that a lot of NFL teams have interest. Are you surprised that Bill Belichick is doing a little college ball?
Yeah, I'm shocked. But from what I've heard, and I do have some people who have followed the NFL, and I'm not talking about Tony Khan, but people who follow the NFL very closely said that he was just tired of the NFL bullshit. And of course, he has some sort of history with the Tar Heels because his father coached there, if I remember correctly. So let's see. I mean, Conrad, you know as well as I do, college football and the NFL are not too far apart now.
No.
So let's see how he does. And I think it's very interesting that he is there. So
Bobby says, Tony, I received butts and seats for Christmas. Would you sign it, please?
yeah, Bobby, we'll see you in Huntsville, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I hope we can stay awake for the final 10 minutes of the show.
Alex Wheaton wants to know, what should I order from Bojangles in Huntsville to try for the first time? Well, first of all, I don't know why you would do that unless you're just supporting Jay-Z. But if you're going to do that, I think he would recommend the Bowberry biscuit. I would say get a chicken biscuit. That's pretty much all I get when I go to Bojangles.
Country ham biscuit. Country ham biscuit at Bojangles is pretty good.
What the fuck's wrong with you, Tony? The name of the restaurant for years and years was Bojangles Famous Fried Chicken and Biscuits. And now you're like, get the ham. You're the guy who orders steak at a seafood restaurant.
Okay, so so I don't know. Tell them not to have it. Tell them not to serve ham then. Okay, ask them what's wrong with them. Say, don't you fuckers know what your name is? All right, next.
That's all the questions.
Okay.
I do recommend, though, if you want that Oreo cheesecake in a jar, if you're going to be at the shop where we're going to be doing a comedy show with some friends of ours, including Cassio Kid leading that band of Merry Misfits, literally the next red light up is Slim Chickens, and on all the delivery apps, they'll bring it right to the shop. I know that from prior experience. If you're looking for breakfast in Huntsville, though, Alex Wheaton, one of those days, I know you're going to hit Waffle House because it's a Southern thing and roll tide on that. You got to hit the Little Rosie's drive-through and get you a sausage, egg, and cheese soft taco. They make it with chorizo. Roll tide.
Where's that place you, me, and your dad ate breakfast?
That's Gibson's Barbecue, and it burned down.
Really?
burned to the ground during the pandemic.
Oh, that's terrible. Jeez.
Yeah,
That was-
and
that was good
the
place.
insurance, they couldn't grandfather it in. You know, the building was the restaurant had been there for more than 50 years.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. James L. Cori just came up with a stupid thing, Saban to Dallas ? Like he
No,
was gonna start
never.
the tournament.
No,
Never.
never.
James, come on. I know you're a Dallas Cowboy fan, but you're out of your freaking mind.
Never.
Yeah.
Hey, some other news and notes here from early January 1994 in the Observer. Cactus Jack and his wife are parents of a baby girl named Noelle as of 3 weeks ago. It's the couple's second child. A big play is going to be made to get Kurt Hennig now that the budget has been freed up by Davey Boy Smith being gone. WCW has a very different story about his leaving than the one printed in the Observer, but officially nobody is allowed to comment on it.
Well,
Technically, Smith was never fired. They claim he just never showed up for his dates. What do you remember hearing about the real reason that the British Bulldog left WCW?
I heard he just didn't show. That's what I heard. Why he didn't show, I don't know. But I heard, hey, he's just not showing, so he's gone.
Dave would also write, at the house shows, they were doing battle royals for a supposed $50,000 and $100,000, which turned into a real expose since so many of the guys were just clowning around. And with that kind of money at stake, that makes no sense. House show crowds were the same after Starrcade as before, so the traditional post-Christmas crowd increases didn't affect this company. And some of the B shows in Alabama were doing about 200 per night.
Wow.
200.
As in money or as in fans?
No. Like when y'all had 121 people.
Oh, okay. Wow.
By the way, it's also January of 94 this month, where even though we heard Johnny B. Bad say that Michael Hayes was coming back to wrestle,
Yeah.
he quits. He's offered a $75,000 deal. Allegedly, this is because Eric Bischoff doesn't get the Freebird thing.
Right.
He goes to work for Vince McMahon, and what do you know? Doc Hendricks is born. Were you surprised when Michael Hayes left to go work for Vince, or not really?
Not at all, because Eric didn't like him at all. I've told the story before. Eric said, I'm tired of the Southern Freebird thing. You know, Eric was really against being labeled as Southern. And he thought Michael Hayes, leaned into that with the Freebirds. And of course, I understand that. But I remember Michael Hayes saying, he and I were playing golf one day. And Michael said, the thing about Eric is I can be anything he wants me to be. If he doesn't want me to be Southern Freebird Michael Hayes, he said, hell, I'm from Philadelphia. I can be anything. So he just needs to tell me what he wants me to be.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
Like, I can be anything. I'm from Philadelphia.
Right.
Let's not work ourselves into a shoot here.
Exactly. So that was the thing with Michael Hayes. And so when he left, it didn't surprise me at all because, like one time I said, we're coming to you from, we're going to go to the Lawrence Joe Memorial Coliseum, home of the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. And Eric jumped all over my shit. Hey, Wake Forest Demon Deacons, that's a Southern bullshit town. And I felt like saying, but I didn't argue with him. I felt like saying, no, it's not, dumbass. It is the Wake Forest Demon Deacons are a member of the Atlantic Coast Conference, which, by the way, is the most popular basketball conference in the country. And everybody knows the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, North Carolina Tar Heels, the Duke Blue Devils, Virginia Cavaliers, Clemson Tigers. They just so happen to be in that part of the country, but everybody knows who they are when you talk about them. So, but he was really, really against anything. He was trying to just, he was trying to do what to WCW, what NASCAR has been trying to do to NASCAR, and that is not become a regional type sport, not be regionalized, not be put in that, I don't know, that cubby hole or whatever.
So here we are. We're going to be closing out with a promo. Yeah. Mean Gene being the stick man for Colonel Robert Parker. What do you think he's saying here, Tony?
Well, Colonel Robert Parker, listen, Gene, let me tell you something right now. That Flying Brian came in and he kicked old Steve Austin in the ass And Steve Austin lost to Sting and Flying Brian. Let me tell you something. If I have to take old Longy out here and whack you over the head with it, I'll do it. That's it. Don't you dare do it there, Colonel. I'll do it, Gene. Let me tell you something. I'm getting ready to leave this company. I'm getting ready to leave. I'm getting ready to go and become a major star right now. And any time that Flying Brian wants to come towards me, pull a gun on me maybe, or even break a leg or do whatever he wants to do, doesn't matter to me, Mean Gene, because I'm not going to be around while this company is on its ass.
That sounds about right.
That sounds about right. That's about, we were on our ass. We really were on our ass at this time.
And that's the thing too. You know, I know that people get all hot and bothered about, you know, what ticket sales are here and there. And, you know, oh, this company's down and that company's up or what have you. And all this back and forth, know it all, fucking armchair quarterback bullshit. Anyway, we just ran through WCW having 121 tickets out.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And I really thought at this time that we were 2 steps out the door. And I thought when Eric came in and Hogan came around, it elevated us. And it took us out from being, or it delayed the inevitable, which I always thought the inevitable was that because we were run by a television company, that they did not give a shit about us ever since Ted Turner had kind of left. And it was going to eventually go out of business. It did go out of business. Eric just prolonged that by being by being the smartest guy that ever ran the company. And Hulk Hogan's arrival later that year, selling out the Orlando Arena that we would have never done without Hulk Hogan. And pay-per-view buys just jumping, which would have never been done without Hulk Hogan, really turned our fortunes around and enabled us to stay in business another 7 years.
Well, we're going to stay in business through next week at least, where we'll be talking about Clash of the Champions 30 and what a show this will be. There was a dark match that night with the Armstrongs and the Stud Stable. But then we got to the heavy lifting. Arn Anderson and Johnny B. Bad, Alex Wright and Bobby Eaton, Harlem Heat and Stars and Stripes, Sting versus Avalanche. And in the main event, it's Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage against Kevin Sullivan and The Butcher.
Whoa.
I'm looking forward for us to watch this. We haven't seen it in a long time. It's live from Las Vegas, Caesar's Palace, way back in 1995. So we'll be watching it around the 30-year anniversary next week. So be sure to set your calendar for that one. But in the meantime, right now, Tony, it looks like it's about that time.
Yes, it's very late at night. We want to tell everybody we appreciate you being with us here on What Happened When. We love each and every one of you, even you, Bad Money Slim, who's probably fallen asleep by now. For all of us, What Happened When, including Dave Silva, thanks for being with us. We're desperately out of time. We'll see you next week on What Happened When. We come to you each and every Wednesdays on Cumulus Westwood 1. But Mondays, we come to you exclusively and ad-free on
Patreon, patreon.com/WHW Monday. And of course, adfreeshows.com.
On hood.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson here to tell you a little more about what adfreeshows.com is all about. Get early, ad-free access to more than a dozen of your favorite wrestling podcasts every single week, starting at just $9. That's less than 20 cents an episode each month. And yes, you can listen to them all directly through Apple Podcasts or your regular podcast apps. How easy is that? Ad-free shows also has thousands of hours worth of bonus content and docuseries like Title Chase, Eric Fires Back, Conversations with Conrad, and The Insiders. Plus new series like The Book with David Crockett, Monday Mailbags with Mike Chioda and Nick Patrick, and a whole lot more. And you want to talk about early? You can't get any earlier than listening to the shows live. You can be a part of the live studio audience as we record the podcast. Plus, ride shotgun alongside your favorite childhood heroes for live watch-alongs, Q&As, and other interactive experiences every single month. Come on now, see for yourself what thousands of other wrestling fans from around the world have discovered that adfreeshows.com is the best value in wrestling. Check it out today. And hey, when you do, the first week is completely free. Adfreeshows.com.